that now I know going in, it's like, hey, just be well prepared to explain the reason for every single thing that you do on set, because you'll be asked that. And I wasn't used to that. You have to respect that they have been a part of the process of working with the client from step 1, and you are brought in on like step 7.
A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
Look down, back up. Where are you?
You're in the bush.
Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do...
Wanna play Bob?
I think we're gonna be here a while.
Hey everyone, it's Codey. In today's episode, we're talking to director Greyson Welch. His most notable directorial work is Be the Fight for the Cleveland Cavaliers and award-winning music video Shame for Matthew Mayfield. If you want to hear about transitioning from DIT and coloring to directing, then this episode's for you. I met Greyson on my first job, where I almost got fired several times, but Greyson was great, so throughout our catching up, you're going to learn about 4 things. Living and working in New Orleans as a filmmaker, freelancing as a colorist and director during COVID-19, preparing for committee decisions as a director on commercial shoots, and how Greyson got his start in the industry. Enjoy. Okay, dude.
Love it.
Well, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in years. The last time I saw you was the feature in Warsaw. Yeah.
Yeah. Once Nouvelle Vie,
That's
now
right.
New Life.
That's right.
But yeah, man, that was, you were on the production team for
I
that
was.
one, yeah?
I was the second AD, and that was my first job. I almost got fired like 2 or 3 times.
That was your first job ever? Like
Yeah.
on a set?
Yeah.
Dude, that was my first job as well.
Really?
No lies. Yes.
See, you don't know that.
was
You just look around at other people, and I was like, all right, I got to look cool in front of him.
Yeah, because you're not going to be telling anybody that.
Yeah. Who
That's
brought
so
you
funny.
onto that?
But yeah,
was
that
that
was the
Chris
first feature.
and his guy and his team?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I got hooked in with a post-production house in Birmingham, which is where Chris was based out of as well. And then the guy who was going to be DIT on that couldn't make it. And I had kind of helped them, like assistant, edit some things. And he was like, hey, if I teach you how to do this, will you do it? I'm not available. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome, sure. So that's how it all got connected. But
So you're in New Orleans now.
I am.
Right. When did you move there?
So I grew up. I'm technically in Slidell, which is like right across Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans. Yeah. So I grew up here, and then I went to Birmingham for college and stayed there for 6 years. So I worked as a freelancer 2 years in Birmingham, and then just moved back here, I guess a little over a year ago.
You're
in last
from
February.
Louisiana, and you went to Alabama for college?
I am. No, I didn't go to the University of Alabama. I went to Samford University, which is like a small, like,
Yeah, I
private
saw your work
school.
for them,
No,
for
no,
Sanford.
no.
That was nice.
Yeah, that was kind of honestly, they were the first commercial client that I ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks great, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I liked the football shots a lot.
That one was really fun because the admissions office was wise enough to know that they didn't necessarily know what they were doing when it came to filmmaking, but they didn't know that I didn't know either, but I was just willing to do some stuff and like make it happen. So they're like, hey, here's, a couple $100, go make this thing.
You made that on a couple $100?
I think the actual budget was maybe like $1,500, and then I end up spending like $500 of my own money to make it happen because for whatever reason. I think it was like to get a lens or get an extra day with the camera or something.
Well, it looked like it was worth it. I mean,
I loved it, man. It was super fun.
Man, that's awesome. So I thought you were from Alabama and had moved to Louisiana, but now that I know you're like back where you're from, that's even better because now you're near all of your like hometown resources, right?
I came here primarily to be healthier, like to just have, because freelancing is tough to keep a good schedule and to just be a healthy human being, period. So I came back here to be closer to my family primarily, but then also New Orleans is a great market. So, having friends that are working in the industry, because it is a bigger market, there's more of them, has absolutely been a plus.
Yeah. I was looking at New Orleans back around 2013, and I think that's when True Detective had come out sometime around there. And New Orleans Louisiana was on a hot streak. I mean, they had like Oblivion with Tom Cruise, True Detective, and a bunch of other things. And then Georgia just Frieza evolved into their new form like several times over and just absorbed everything all the way up to North Carolina and over to Louisiana. So, and Louisiana, what did they do? They like tried to cap their state tax incentives, and it scared everyone off for a long time. If that's a good way to paraphrase it.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. I'm not super well informed on it, but my understanding is that they put a soft cap on it, an annual cap, and in reality, it was actually significantly higher than what they had even done the prior years as far as tax incentives. But it was enough to scare them, and so it drove them away. And I think they got rid of it, or it's still here. And then now they're like production companies are kind of more informed, and they've done a better job of communicating the nature of it, so it's a little bit less scary.
Yeah, man. So what's in a more formal asking way, like what are the best and worst parts about working there, in your opinion?
So this has been my experience moving back. When I moved back, I decided that I wanted to focus in on directing more and crew less. And I don't know if that was a good decision or not, but it did free up a lot of time for me to focus on writing and, kind of developing projects as opposed to, spending days on set as a camera op or whatever. So it kind of limited my on-set time, because all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to get hired as a production assistant than it is to get hired as a director on a big thing. Obviously, there's more demand for the lower tier job or whatever. So I haven't spent as much time on New Orleans sets as I would have liked to, but I did have an opportunity to work as an electrician on some of the larger shows that came through. And I have not decided if I like New Orleans yet or not. I think that I love it.
So are you still leaving town mostly for work?
Yeah, most of the paying directing gigs take me out of town. That's for sure. A lot of what I've been doing recently has been, I've kind of supplemented my income with color jobs on commercials, and then helping out in camera department, kind of crewing here and there, and then working on directing, some more passion projects, short films, that kind of thing. The occasional commercial will come around. And I did the Cleveland Cavaliers spot and this other academia spot for Rider University with the same agency really close together. And I expected to get some calls from them, this year for some more projects, because I got good feedback and all that. But with Corona, it kind of all went down the drain. So I'm not sure, as things start getting back in the groove, I think I'm expecting to have more calls, but all of those pretty much take me out of town. I don't really have any sort of local directing jobs at the moment. I think sometimes if you say that you do it for the money, then it means you don't care about the project, and that's not true for me. It's really nice to be able to have the income to then, pay for some short films and get those things off the ground.
Yeah.
But I also really love the projects. We were talking about Kirby. I just got done coloring this black and white short film that he shot on this Tri-X 16 mil film with this red filter that he was telling me about. And it was like, it was the same or very similar stock to what they shot The Lighthouse on.
Okay.
So we had a lot of conversations about that. It's like, I'd never colored black and white 16 mil footage before. So it was another opportunity.
Oh my gosh, that must have been awesome.
So there's silver linings to all of it.
Man, well, you beat me to my, it's supposed to be my opening question. I'm still figuring this out myself. I always want to ask, it's tough. I always say, what did or do you want to do more, filmmaking or advertising? And I mean, I just don't know how filmmaking, narrative filmmaking, isn't going to blow advertising off the stage every time. So I think I'm just going to keep shooting and wait until someone goes, just commercials for me, man. Not into movies. Don't want any part of them.
Well, I know. There's definitely a stigma around commercials, right? Where you just do it for the money, because it is true that you just have to do some run-of-the-mill projects for commercials, but I think that there's an opportunity to do some really cool stuff.
So do you have a favorite commercial? Just ever, not yours, just...
I can give you some ones recently that I really enjoyed. I saw the Coke Orange Vanilla commercials that they did where they... set it up as like this pseudo. It was like a Western style bar scene, where basically they have this conflict where it's like all these cowboys are dressed in white and they're supposed to be the vanilla, and then these other cowboys are dressed in orange, and they like created this like Western style conflict. I really loved it. I thought it was such a perfect way of introducing that product, and it was done super well. Like,
oh man, I need to look that up. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't know if they did any sort of big placements or anything like that. I think it was just for like online.
I always think that's so weird when
really
I see
like
this
that.
great commercial, and I'm like, where was this?
Commercials are so bad about that.
I feel
it is
well,
so hard
whoever,
to like
it's
save
whoever
them
can
for
afford
references
to push it, right? Like whatever clients have the money. Like I'll see Geico commercials all day long, but then I'll see like a commercial for a video game or something, and I'm like, where was this? I would have gone out and bought an Xbox that day had I seen this, which I've done before because of commercials back in like my early 20s. There was one commercial I got in my car that night, and I like went out and got an Xbox in the game, and the game was nothing. It didn't hold up to the commercial whatsoever. Commercial was that good.
Video game commercials nowadays are something serious too. I've seen a couple of them like as YouTube pre-roll ads, and I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah,
masterful what they pull off with those things. I was gonna say I got one other one that I thought of was the Doritos Old Town Road.
That was fun.
Spots that they did for this past Super Bowl with Lil Nas X and Sam Elliott. I just thought that, I guess I like the more playful things, you know, and it was just, I just thought it was perfect timing and it was well done, and it's also Western themed. Maybe I need to make a Western.
You should totally make a Western. Louisiana Western. Actually, my fiance, her dad, where we're possibly going to be going to stay, her dad trains racehorses. So I'm like, on one hand, I'm sad that we're leaving Austin. On the other hand, I'm like, man, that's such a good location. What frustrates you about the commercial industry right now as a director?
I don't think I was prepared for the amount of committee decisions that are made in the commercial sphere, like the number of cooks in the kitchen. I think I was spoiled because most of my commercial clients would look at my website and, you know, they're small to medium-sized businesses, be like, wow, that's incredible. And then just, you know, hand me the check and let me handle it sort of thing. So I really had almost complete control over the process. For the Cavs spot specifically, like I really enjoyed working with the people that I was working with. But when, you know, creative questions are answered and the CC on the email chain goes out to, you know, 8 people, at some point you're like, I don't know. I did not expect or anticipate and had to figure out how to work with a larger group of people making decisions. So yeah, that's probably one part that I think was a little frustrating to me, because there were some times where I would want to just go do something and it gets kind of bogged down because even though I know what I want to do, I have to figure out a way to communicate it to 6 or 7 different people and then get their approval and then move forward and stuff, which I understand why. Like it is what it is. I'm not complaining. It's just a different way of working that I wasn't used to. That now I know going in, it's like, hey, just be well prepared to explain the reason for every single thing that you do on set, because you'll be asked that. And I wasn't used to that. You know, every shot, know why you're getting this shot. And it's not even necessarily know why you're getting it, but know how to verbalize it, articulate it in a way that will explain its value to somebody else. You know, I remember we had this one shot for the Cavs spot where we were doing this dolly push in, following this old couple into this room full of memorabilia, and I got asked on set by one of the supervisors, one of the creative directors, what are we doing right now? And it was like the first shot up on the project, and I was like, well, this is a lead in to the following scene. And I realized that I hadn't thought about how to articulate why we needed this shot of them going through the door. So that was super eye-opening for me. It's like, hey, be prepared to be on the same page with everybody else in the room, even if you don't like it. You have to respect that they have been a part of the process of working with the client from step 1, and you are brought in on like step 7 to work with them. So they understand
You're right.
the client, and they understand like the overall campaign objectives more thoroughly than you do. Even though you might have the filmmaking assets to execute the project, they're the ones that kind of know what needs to be done from a big picture.
Can you give me a director that people make fun of on the internet who you think may deserve a lot more respect from a directing perspective?
Oh gosh. I know that Jonah Hill is cropped up in a lot of directing memes, and I don't know if it was his publicist's fault or whatever, because he ended up in so many magazines and such talking about.
He is. He
his step
seems to be
into
the
directing.
target of like all the filmmaking memes right now.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I guess it's just his persona, because I saw mid-90s, his feature, and loved it. I thought it was awesome. And then he did 2 music videos. He did one for Travis Scott and he did one for Vampire Weekend. And I thought both of them were great. I was like, so I don't really understand where the ridicule is coming from, especially because mid-90s, I thought it was really awesome. So
I think it's great that you said him. I mean, I think we are kind of a society of, if we see someone who's already doing well do something else well, we're just pretty quick to attack it.
That is very true. I think Michael Bay tends to catch a lot of heat too, and he's somebody that doesn't bother me, I think, as much as other people. But
yeah.
You
like those shots in Six Underground?
So I didn't actually watch that one yet. I don't.
Oh, okay.
He's not like a favorite of mine or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But Transformers 1 is a great movie. You can fight me on it, but it's a great movie.
If I wasn't so lazy, I would get up and show you the Transformers toys that I have. So they're the only ones I kept.
Good.
Yeah, they're the only ones I kept. I loved them since I was a kid. So I knew I was going to like that movie before I even saw it. But yes, the first one was awesome.
Yeah, and that one actually caught me at like a pivotal time too, because I think I was like, I don't remember what year it was. I think I was maybe like 15 when it came out, and I saw it in like IMAX in the theater. Like 15-year-old Grayson was losing his mind.
It was awesome.
That movie.
It was the best when it came out. I remember because I used to watch like Beast Wars and the old Transformers cartoons and stuff. Have you ever heard of that?
Nope.
Did you ever remember seeing? Yeah.
I didn't know anything about them.
I might be dating myself there. It was around the same time as like Power Rangers and stuff. So Saturday mornings were like Spider-Man, Beast Wars, and Power. All right. Anyway.
That was fun.
So what? We may have already kind of touched on this, but like, what are some of the best things, the highlights about what you do? Now I know you do a lot, obviously. So let's say Director Greyson. What are some of the best things about what you do?
I think this is such a bad answer, but I do really love good stories and stories that affect you when they're well told, and so the writing, dreaming phase of projects is really fun for me. There's so much about it, man. It's a good question because I love the team component of it, like working with a bunch of people around this idea to create this story world and make something with the camera. The machine of filmmaking is a kind of fascinating thing too. Just the nature of film productions, the way they go on and stuff is really fun for me.
When it works, it's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of that, when it works, it's awesome. What about when it doesn't work? Like what's one of the worst things you can think of about what you do?
Dude, freelancing seems really great, and then it's really difficult to be healthy at the same time because you aren't given the 9-to-5 restrictions, which I know anybody with I don't know. I've talked to people that have 9-to-5s and they're like, you're crazy. And then I talk to other freelancers, they're like, yeah, I mean 9-to-5s aren't bad. So I think the time management part of it's tough. Yeah. I am very routine oriented. I love to have literally one of the best things I can do for my day is to wake up and like take 30 minutes and just read a book or write, and like that takes control of my day for the rest of the day. So that component of it, the control of my schedule and the regularity of it is tough.
I understand the need for why productions are the way that they are. But they're simultaneously the most exciting time and also the worst time, at least for me, especially like producing them. Because so for me, on a regular day, my life is very strict. Like do not disturb sets in at 8:30 p.m. and it doesn't turn off until 8 a.m. each day. And I love it.
That's awesome.
Like I love that no one can get to me. They can if they need to. But
sure.
It's amazing. It's wonderful. And I also love getting up early and reading. Like we created this writers group recently. So we do that from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Like we do all this nice stuff where it's just nice to have that routine. which we really needed right now. Half the reason I joined that group was so that I have a reason to be. I basically have to report to them each morning at 6 via Zoom. That's been nice, because then I have to get up before that because I'm like trying to make my face not look puffy, and I'm like pounding coffee so that when I answer this video call, I'm like, hey guys, good morning. And it's just such a lie, but I need it. Like I need that so bad, because the first once we got a month into like quarantine, it was like 3 a.m. each night. And I was like watching Avatar and like Last Airbender, just watching all this stuff I've always wanted to watch. And I was like, I got to get it together, man. But like when we go into productions, I know my phone has to be like right next to my face, like in the hotel room or something, in case somebody needs something. And when, the higher up on the call sheet you are, the more stuff you have to handle. So it can be a mess.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah. I completely share that feeling of production being the best and worst experience ever. Literally, without fail, every single production, I get to the end of it and I'm like, I don't know why I do this. And then give me like 1 or 2 weeks and I'm like, man, I wish I was on a set right now.
Yeah.
It's such hard work. Like, it's just exhausting. And for me, at least, I'm very bad at segmenting pieces of my life. So whenever I go into production mode, I'm like all in. It's basically a sprint to the finish line at that point.
Yeah.
So wait, you guys rescheduled the wedding?
Yeah, had to. It's been a stressful year, man.
Yeah.
It's been it has been an intense year. And I know that's like, I won't dive into the details because one, I don't want to date us too much in case we release this in like 4 weeks, like North Korea could invade by then, for all we know.
It's looking like it's probable at this point.
Godzilla comes ashore finally. It just all makes sense. The killer hornets evolve.
Yeah.
It's been such a ride of a year. But
and weddings are just inherently stressful, man.
They are stressful. They're like a stressful production. I mean, I didn't even realize it. The similarities, and I thought I was going to get away with it, because I was like, we're doing it small. I'm gonna beat this thing. I thought I was gonna like outproduce weddings, and it was probably the dumbest thing I've ever thought in my life. Because you're doing the same amount of work just for less people if you're doing it small. Part of me is glad it got canceled, because it was just, I was like, then I didn't have to do it, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yes.
So now sometimes we talk and we're like, I guess we just go have to stand on a cliff with a photographer and elope or something, and I'm like, oh man, that's too bad.
People will be mad at us.
Which project of yours means the most to you?
Past projects?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of two, and it's for two different reasons.
Yeah, let's hear it.
One is a music video that I did for a buddy of mine, Jeremiah, called Even If It Kills Me. And it was
Is that the new one with the oil on his body and the fire?
No, that's not.
That was great, man. That looks fantastic. Like, you're happy for your friends when they're doing well, because I saw the stills go up from that on Instagram, and it's kind of like production where I was like, it's great and bad. I saw your pictures going up and I was like, man, he's getting so good and I'm so bad.
That's why you gotta stay away from social media, homie. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't do that to
yourself. It looks great though.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That was a fun one. And it made for good stills.
Yeah.
The ideas don't always do that, but as far as social media content, it made for good content.
Yeah.
So this music video, Even If It Kills Me, actually made maybe 3 years ago, and it is the story of this guy, the artist, he plays himself, who grows up and he has this like alien encounter where he thinks an alien comes to his house whenever he's a little kid, and then for the rest of his life he believes that there's aliens out there, and then one day he sees this news broadcast that's like, unexpected aliens are coming. He's like, oh man, so he goes on this journey to find these aliens. And at the end of it, he thinks he's found them, and it just turns out that it's this party of people just shooting off fireworks, and he never actually finds the aliens. So it's this awesome tale of like he had this ultimate dream of like finding these aliens, but through the process of going and he meets these people, it's like he didn't get what he wanted, but he was super happy at the end. It sounds cheesy to explain it, but once you watch it, then you get an idea of like what it actually means.
Did you write and direct that one?
So the artist came up with like the outline of it, And then that's usually how we work, because we've done about 5 projects together. He comes to me with this sort of concept, and then I step in and say, okay, here's some story elements that we can bring in. Like, let's shape it up and make it into something that'll be a good film. So he was the one that thought of the fireworks party at the end and him not actually getting his dreams and stuff. But it was pretty collaborative. I don't know if I could actually delineate what ideas were whose.
Yeah, but I can definitely see how 2 artists, even different types of artists, working on that type of story together, it can be pretty fulfilling.
It's so fun. And he doesn't know anything about film at all. He's learned over the years, but like he didn't study it or do anything. So he's coming to it with this wonderfully naive perspective on what we can accomplish and what we can't, and what the story looks like. And it was super fun because it just made me think about things in a different way. And then the second one that I thought of was another music video that I did called Shame for this guy, Matthew Mayfield. And we shot that on 16 millimeter film.
That was nice. I watched that one.
Yes.
Oh, is that why it looked good? See, I don't know cameras very well, so I don't. Sometimes I'll see, it usually stops for me at like, looks good.
Yes. Yeah. And we had it colored by Parker Jarvie. He's a colorist for Company 3 out of New York. So, we've got.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like upper echelon colorists working on it, not just me coloring my own thing. But that one holds a special spot in my heart because I think that was the first project that I felt that the process was exactly what I had hoped it would be. Like we ran through the production of that exactly how I felt like it should have been done, because me and the director of photography were really nervous because it was both of our first time shooting on film. And so the whole idea that you can't monitor.
And who was that who shot it?
Sean Kirby.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
Yep. So the whole idea of shooting on film and not being able to watch back what you just shot immediately. And actually in that situation, I didn't even really have a monitor. I could only look at like what was happening on set, and then just had to trust Kirby that he had nailed it. We scouted several times, walked through, made this detailed shot list, storyboarded it, like did the whole production process. And I loved it. I was such a big fan of having the time to work through it and do the production the way that we did. And I was really happy with the way it turned out too.
It looks really nice. Spot.
Yeah, I thought it did.
What's the hardest scene you've ever done, and how'd you get through it? And that can be commercial, narrative, anything.
It's a super good question. So for that music video that you had brought up with all the oil, it's called The Right Hook by Trip Wood, and we made the decision to have a very limited amount of cuts in the music video until the very end. But with that decision meant that we had to carry the audience's interest through the entirety of the shot, as opposed to being able to just cut to give you something new. And
do you mean cutting to something that's like maybe more interesting so that you can retain their attention?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like if you got the artist sitting by a pool and also walking down the street, if all of a sudden walking down the street gets boring in a music video, especially, you could just cut to them at the pool, and then it's not as boring anymore, and you can kind of cherry pick the moments that you want. But with this, it was like we're locked into that amount of time because there's no way to cut out of it. And we had this one part where the lyrics stop and the song just kind of plays instrumental for about 10 seconds or so. And I did about 6 or 7 takes before I realized that it was just not working. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it. And then I started to understand. I was like, it's because you've got this dead space at the end of the take that nothing's happening. So I really want something new to happen, and then it doesn't. So what can we do here? So on the spot, we kind of came up with this idea that, because eventually, to give you context for the story of the music video, basically, eventually this black kind of oil stuff ends up coming out of him and then all over the floor and stuff. And it's kind of like, a catharsis or an expelling your demons kind of situation where he needed to get something off of his chest. But we sort of allude to it in the music video leading up to that point. And we came up with the idea on the spot that, like, what if he like checks his nose and then some of it's coming out of his nose, and then we got a shot of it like dripping on the floor, and then that filled in that spot. And so that scene was really tough for me. Anytime that I have to improvise on set, which is inevitable, if something's not working, that's super stressful for me because I'm like, man, we got to make this work. Why is this not working? This isn't working. Let me identify the problem and then let's make it happen and make it good. And ultimately, I thought it was a really good little teaser for the rest of the music video. Like I thought it made it significantly better, but that scene was tough because we put ourselves in a box on purpose, but it just made it more difficult to make sure that what we were looking at was good.
What do you wish you had known starting out? Like if you could turn back time and tell your 18-year-old self something.
Yeah. I set expectations that were unrealistic, based off of comparing myself to these great directors like Spielberg, who, directed Jaws in his 20s and stuff like that. So I think if I could go back to like 18-year-old Greyson, he's going right out to college, I would say strategize less, think less about where you are in life and focus more on just making the projects that come your way and learning something new with each one. The analogy I came up with, but has also been super helpful for me, is like if you think about a film career as like 1,000 push-ups or something like that, I've always been reluctant to do anything less than like increments of 100, right? Or like, no, it's got to be big. It's got to be something important. When in reality, like the best thing that I can do for myself is just take it in increments of 10 and just do 10 at a time over time. And then eventually you'll get to the 1,000 same way you would with 100. And you're not overwhelmed and you're learning something and you're meeting new people and there's less pressure to achieve this self-created expectation of where I should be in my career. And it frees me up to enjoy the process more too. So I would take all of that and try to explain that to 18-year-old Greyson. Say, just make stuff, strategize less, just improve a little bit each time. That's the best way to enjoy the work and also get better.
That's awesome. So, I wish you could tell that to 18-year-old Codey.
Yeah,
because
we just get so preoccupied about achieving things, which is good, but there's so much unnecessary stress that comes with that and expectation.
I couldn't agree more. Like if I had put the energy that I put into worrying about or wondering how to be successful by a certain age, if I put that energy into just making stuff, even if it was small, I'd probably be sitting on a mountain of projects.
Great way to put that. Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody trying to enter the industry now or the real world of the industry now? I can boost that question too by also adding, like, what advice do you think they could consider ignoring, if you can think of something like that?
Ignoring. When the film industry has gotten, actually this is perfect for the Filmmakers and Advertising podcast, it has gotten super great at advertising itself on social media via equipment, lights, lenses, tutorials, LUT packs for colorists. I see that all the time. And there's a tendency to constantly feel handicapped by the tools that you don't have. I really don't like this phrase, but because it's not helpful, but I think it is true, where it's like, if you want to be a filmmaker, you have to make films. And I hate that phrase because it's like, well, yeah, duh. Like, yes, obviously you have to make films. You want to be a filmmaker. That's not helpful. How do we make films? And I think for me personally, and I think it's probably true for a lot of other young filmmakers too, have a tendency to be more attracted to the flashier, like wow kind of parts of filmmaking, which tends to be equipment or budget or things like that. It's contentment with the available resources and learning how to tell stories where you are. It is annoying but true that you can make a great short film on an iPhone. Is that iPhone as good as an Alexa or a Red or Panasonic or whatever? No, it's not. But you can learn how to tell a story there and be happy with the resources that you have available, instead of just being frustrated by not having so-and-so camera or so-and-so lens or LUT pack, and as a result, being discouraged and not making it. And that's happened to me so many times, man. So that's what I think I would say is, like, make the films and be realistic about where you are with your resources, and know that over time, as you continue to make these things, you meet more people, you get bigger budgets. It's like it happens over time. You have to trust the process. And if you're constantly frustrated by the process and that you feel like you don't have enough, then you're going to burn out. You're not even enjoying what you're doing in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's true, man.
Nice, man. Well, hey, on our way out here, do you have a personal motto or mantra that you would share?
Oh man, I feel
or
like
anything for yourself, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think at the moment it is strategize less and make more.
That's great.
Yeah, I heard
that's great.
Christopher Nolan. I read a quote from him. He said, I think he said, breaking rules isn't interesting. It's making up new rules that's exciting. And I love that quote because I don't entirely know what he means. And so I'm like, all right, if Nolan knows this,
I'm going to be honest, I don't know yet either. I'm still thinking it through.
I'm like, okay, all right. You know, he's kind of a pioneer of unconventional storytelling, like as far as the way he organizes movies. Maybe that's what he's talking about. So that one has just piqued my interest as of late. So I've just been thinking about that one a lot. But
yeah. Nice, man. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share while we have you? Or do you think we covered everything?
I feel good, man. This was fun.
Awesome. What's the best way to approach you? How can or how not to approach you?
Yeah, well, so I've got a website, GreysonAWelch.com, and then I'm on Instagram as well. And my website has a submission form on there, and I check every one of them. So if you submit something there, then I will see it for sure. And then, DMs on Instagram or just following me there is probably best. I don't have a bad way to connect with me yet. So once I get super famous, maybe we'll come back and revise that.
That's great. Well, Greyson, man, I'm going to wrap it up. But dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely, Cody. It was fun. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our first episode of Filmmakers and Advertising. I'm going to link everything Greyson and I talked about in the show notes on our website, filmmakersandadvertising.com. Have a great week. I don't know how long it'll be till you hear from me again.